Con Nuer dire dan ga jawini Bisi no gwara lo di kalo babani we Nuer dire dan ga jawini we Nuer ga janika we Nuer dire dan ga jawini we Nuer ga janino we Nuer dire dan ga jawini
Mala.
Monine na rar ka do, the monine na ka Congo, karwi do ye do rumba. Monine na rar ka do, the monine na ka Congo, karwi do ye do rumba. Chupke chumale, chupke chumale. Kawaii, hawa bai mui da gazu. Yin ya zade ya melkin kawaii, hawa bai mui da gazu. Amon yine na rar ka do, amon yine na ka kongo, garwi dol ye dol gram gurba. Amon yine na rar ka do, amon yine na ka kongo. We do you go from the bar? So quick, Male. Say, so quick, Male. Some guy, Karina would do the Rita, Tauran with this super. Seria Wallace of Kagai, Karina would do the Data, Tauran with this super. The morning.
Welcome.
Kunyakan pingbar wiko, mayu diara madu kome. Do dia logan war ni dubo logan war. La chol chetan ken chang brui bom nuara pan bine su mon dinu chetan chewe chedilum kawoi bom nuara bega kungal charo dagere chede chang na pai mi oba bichang lep ne labe pan charo dagere chede chang na pai mi o chang bu pai lep ne labe tiang.
Thank you, John. Now get to one about that one. Mala, che Nuer mal we are ben ba con la ting one wale but in one lat take a tea dole for a long time, but a boy pin. and welcome ke chang ko nya tungo gan nyam ran show. It's been a long time. It's been a long time.
For them who spend on quite a job, what about make a young one and to make a more quiet? Well, I owe you to put a toy with them. Good job, carrying the blue case, I feel like with the year. The family so barely the way go, and I could have so long more good. When you're in the blue nose, I feel like the would know. The family so barely the way go, and I so long more good. Would you get one to run with your leg? Make one guy, you put the pen, or quite your young, will I will come for we jam now, but when we jump it up, by Lama Cargo with the help on.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you.
When you don't have a ration, we don't and find ya, we can learn my young geek and young, my young dog in a mutual jar. Oh, be a find a person who go joke and step forward. We know as Samuel guide to young or a young reaction. William, not fine, William for them who's bent on fine land job. What about me, young one, and to make a for quiet. Well, I owe you to joke with a soul reader.
Thank you, Django. Thank you.
I feel like you. The family so barely the same way go down the Lecuria to young joy like a baptized jelly. When you're in the weapon, I feel like you better to Robora window. The family so barely come way go in ya to young joy like a baptized jelly. To your walk your home with your leg, it's only a guy who couldn't depend. Oh, what would you up? Will I will come for? We jam now the cut, or you be out. Why Lama Cargo be fair out more? Cornell and Painberg, we come. May you don't.
This is my last song. There's a new song from Nya. Din mi jidit ka nya jani chwale ramran janen chen nuer no ku bang mui ka dor na nuer ku chang cha la nuer konyal. What a great song. Remember this song. This song is a new song from Nya JJ. Jani chwal Ramaran. En chen Nuer no ko bang moy door na Nuer go cha dia la Nuer. Crazy song. And we are get used to it very soon. It's a great song, I reckon. Thank you. Yep, Jani chwal Ramaran chen Nuer no. All right. Music ni kon jen ke music to go along ke much ya kam kono kot through our men and women to you kot ko pos ke riet ke ne jow ke nyam che e nyor ke male enda morun ka gadun ni chen ko nya tungo ngan nyamran jen cha gwal mu ber along ka social platform cha le Facebook chi benda cha daw, and that's because chi ne ro da lo ga ka mi cha le clubhouse te kor mi din mi tare clubhouse chi ben ka Facebook cha kwa bat cha lu nu ne nyin kon te let kon ke cha ka pel mu da lat ke nu kwa ka address in a different manner ka clubhouse cha ye nere especially ye natin laga nu ara ka gad jinu Sudan te ka Facebook te ngot la right ka Facebook. I think Facebook a platform kel ka platform ni to go along ko again la ra ji kan nan ga ji men ku la re tin ne ne miti ga tin wan tin la di cha ja no wona ne bikalat medan karundia le chugo ngai ne la na bo ni chang ka Facebook wa na me ko ba ne nyin kon belat shi technology cha le grow along cho ko mi cha le clubhouse la cha ta de ke radio la roji chẳng thi nhiều đuôi lu chẳng thi lật chẳng thi anh qua the thi tin no you be issue ni Jinu Sudan be ka attend to there when you liang ka there rival depending ka background thi tin can how busy you are ke prove along on social platform ni thi can cha con upgrade ka cha từ dan cha ko ba kwa cha ro ai ni kon wa cha ko ban ke kam ju wi mon to kong ko ba kon ling ba choi dan ba nen straight away jen la yena ne la dor to on tam doran ko within seconds la ja nan ke we mon gwa de ala content la platform me cho ala social media jen chi nen chi wun mi cho ala sal fakir ke ne ji kware che ga ja ko bi ga dwala long ko me dan ngai ke no social media che bu grow la wo kam bar kien ke ne chian chen ni dia nan let ke ne be yo pe ka South Sudan ka jube la wo gui ke no ba cho attack ko na ka na kap ka na ma ni platform ni to go to ya set up chere ke South Sudan Broadcasting Corporation Radio Tamazu and all the other platforms to like yours ko ba message ni ba ka jakara cha ke restricted ko ken dwal ka ko bi to bora but regardless thank God ko kon chana ben we mon mitaka technology ko re kon ti lat ke self care du mitale technology me de ko liu je ka Jinu Sudan ko kume self care chere me chi a link ka report e cha kamrar African Union me la kona cho lo ne the former Nigerian president la Abasajo report on the case of South Sudan. A large genocide done in commit South Sudan, ke research walat a Basajo. She have a report to the world and a gen and system me take a wood mutual self-care gen a system that has been designed to kill the Nuer people. Allow a system which are designed to Nuer back on genocide a kume self-care. It was just a matter of time. System more as long as Quore got younger, but no Bakadil, no corner no more she did. A tired to want to go up and walk a year while, but one will go through them very quick. But one can go and join your Facebook. Take it one day adult to go to Dombanua Tanki and Kenyan, Jinu Sudan in general. Katanki and Kategoro, the Ling and Ideal, regardless, go Banakakula Nuak, a Jew mon. The more an Anan Kukon advocate on what is going wrong in South Sudan, the more people will be involved. The more the international community will be well informed, Katelat Karodi and the run. Win Moon Charota change. Therefore, Jin Michuji, La Goro, Choidu Bangai, Bangai Neku, Bangai Ra, Ku Bukula Takanate Lakaji. Issue need to call the Goro, Baran through Goro Jedi to get the latest. Ray Kur Nana to Kajungli State. A case Mugoro Ba address. Kalam Waiwa address Bawa to specific. Barai go Nuera long ko neme que involved Nikon Nuera disunity in no con a wood mutual self kill a Nakon Medan Kajinu Sudan. Mute Garamichi Parui. But him ye con me nakakon di a self care. Mite ka Nuera Michi Parui. Mich habe confused ke kwa we mon ke yo ke no torbieli ke kun ai wana wala ba jaku bia team en wo nuer pankien chakana nuer pankien chaka genocide would me chala self-fakir. Jira momo me paljerwe me guru biro mat self-fakir o kulo nyinga ga Nuer. And while about orientation ba lat ku ga Nuer jangai one kon we are still in the same problem medan me na kon ke December 2013. Michi ya parui. Akwana kon work ke simple agenda to go on and ba highlight kel mal ka jinu Sudan medan to kon ga mal ti cha tan en tam roi kon ko tel o mal ka jinu Sudan hel rai dan the ka nei ngut ka mun ngal ka je o mal ja tin ko no mo a source of confusion ka ne kon especially ga Nuer te kon te worry kamal nang ka kore kwar Dr. Yagmacha te ka gad kon ti confuse in the middle ti organize o mal ngod tin ba ku le nyol ye o mal ngod tin en kiet teleje ko jin mi chung kam dom ne dara ku do bana ne botin perhaps mu yo ngai with evidence o mal che dag a dom bi ro las ku kel bi wo ku sel fakir kie biro go do mi lunge jirar bi ben nan intagan warase ko there is no way possible o kon banaro dan jaka ba kon confuse kan ay kon lone tiri akel a wonene is there peace in South Sudan kan peace a me ta ka Jinu Sudan jen is it achievable? Number 2, Micha address already, but why did peace agreement fail? And which peace agreement could fail? Chabi Jantin go ngay ko reason in anaja peace agreement could fail. But a kel muguru but a method melaratin. Highlight already about the former Nigerian president, may he documentation che kamrar ka kui recommend it to December 15. But lat ko ni yo based on taedan it to Jen right now we talk election ke 2026 ka December. Jin ngazi go take election. Jin go ye o Jinu Sudan ba waka election. Baro I think. But I book a court in any way, a la court in an mutually sham court, kia kangaroo court. But ko took a while about Cholu a self-care regime versus the Nuer sons, teach you walk a mal. A court will look in the gun, Nuera, teach a go by the Sudan by no mal. She self-care opportunity to what judge a bang what you go native walk a chang in the matters. She will go can go Nora to Jenny Becca La Loa, Becca Latkatana and go the environment in Juba Quajisuit. Bara Jordan. Bara I book a parcel. Bara I book a issue parcel. A go parcel pointed. Jen token ni je wone ne be kon betrayen kie chara jen kie jen take relationship ke ne de kon la actors ka kuma self-care. But ben ka recent case ke nyan den garang kie garang ni nya den chia leng wone ne cha kam kwar kie cha kam role Dr. Yagmacha, a woman loaded. Because the current conflict in Anatolia, Jinu Sudan, even the near future conflict, a woman loaded. And I'm about to force go very along. Question of one and a Jing as a community, Dinka as a community. Are they all in this? Because Michinya de Garang Loika Self-Fakir, G10, whatever G11, whoever the name they give themselves. Miche open Chaloika Salfakir. She would Michale Abdel Bagi Ayi Che Soa Che Pel Chaloika Salfakir. She Mabur Garang Che I open Chunur Pizo Kudari Chaloika Salfakir. She would Michale Dawa to Jong Chaloika Salfakir. She told Michale Jesus Deng Mading mi Jang Chaloika Salfakir. Jen be question when ko young look can je one and attack against Salfakir, here they were misleading. But I think you are go right a month, Kakor, Mua, Dunya, Dengar, and Wa address. Babarai Kor, why any teacher a lot, a woman, Aldo, a lot, Dr. Aldo, a Joe, Ka UK, a wood jammer, no year I ate a lot 2-3 days ago. Rwine ate a lot 2-3 days ago, Rwine very, very derogatory. Kadinani Checho, for example, Jene Dr. Michugar. They question who Benko Gar la change one and a genital charala jam. Kiache long change. Kagar pointed change you a genital chara, Jacko, the way they destroy. Kiache change. Because Mugar Michi Naz, Michianga Naza Gar, Tincha Lat Aldo a Joe Chacadella. But Gar pointed take approval again change. Me Giram took a desire to hate people, you Gar change. Me Giram took a desire bo Jinida Ranadari and change Gar. Me Giram took a desire boku very tribal mannerism they employ in national politics, change Mongar. A legendary tribalism they play within the political arenas of a country, because that becomes part and parcel of a decision making that is based in the manner of an individual. So that has nothing to do with high level of education, mitakaran. So Chiran Gare Chukku a PhD, ki a professor, ki a lecturer, ki a teacher, ki a nurse, then it does not remove you from being a tribalist. Can you would boku jin dere nana? Can you would boku jin dere corruption dere yala? Can the dialato? Chaka news a wurmichali Aldo Ajo. Now go ben case intercontinental log. Katuore jikan, Katuovo, Raifangag, Ke Jazira Kelu, a Mani Unity State. The case of the Nuer genocide. The case of the Nuer genocide that has been spanning from 2013 down to current moment. That the regime of Salva Kiir have legalized killing and genociding the Nuer population in South Sudan. But why is the international community failing to pronounce it? Why the international community is failing to pronounce it to the world? The regime of Salva Kiir is genociding the Nuer population in the Republic of South Sudan. By far, it is also proven now, it is by far proven now that the regime of Salva Kiir agenda to genocide the Nuer, to genocide the Nuer community is not only limited to the boundaries and the landmark of South Sudan. It has gone beyond boundaries. It has gone to the regional. It has gone to the international. How and why? I'm going to prove them. So for those of you that still believe that there is a regime or a government in South Sudan that is looking at all tribes of South Sudan the same, you must be ashamed of yourself. You must be ashamed of yourself, because every piece of evidence that we have collected for the past 15 years pinpoint to the reality that the regime of Salva Kiir is indeed on an agenda to genocide and get rid of the Nuer population. If it was not because of the strength and determination of this community would have been eliminated for the past 13 years. But where is the international community? Because the genocide of the Nuer people is taking place before our very own eyes. The international community are rightful witnesses to the genocide of the Nuer people in South Sudan and across borders. Of late, you have witnessed the killing of the civilians that are refugees in the refugee camps in Ethiopia by the Anuaks, the remnants of Anuak that were trained by the regime of Salva Kiir in Pochala, or Pinchala, as some of you can pronounce it. The remnants of Anuak were trained by the regime of Salva Kiir. They were heavily armed by the regime of Salva Kiir, and they were deployed with a mission. With a mission to go and kill the refugees that has fled the war-torn nation of South Sudan into Ethiopian borders. Not to mention the fact that even the Anuak that are Ethiopian and the Nuer that are Ethiopian, the Anuak that are Ethiopian continue to receive weapons and ammunition from the regime of Salva Kiir. So that they can cause havoc and inhumane mistreatment in Gambela region. But yet the regional bodies, the IGADs, the AU, the international community continue to be eyewitness, but in silence. But in silence. The international community and the regional bloc, including the continental bloc, which is the African Union, must be ashamed in the future for what they are witnessing and what they continue to witness today. The genociding of the Nuer people. The genocide of the Nuer community will be a shameful mark in the continent of Africa. East Africa, to be precise. United Nations as well and the international community must bear the consequence of allowing the genocide of the Nuer people without pronouncing it. When the Obasanjo report was released in early 2015-16, the international community quickly jumped on the neck of Obasanjo to not announce it as a genocide, or not pronounce it as a genocide, but to relegate it to a lesser consequential by pronouncing it that there was a system in place. There was a system put in place to kill the Nuer people. Even to the lesser essence of not even pronouncing it as a massacre. Those who earlier pronounced it as a massacre, they were silent thereafter. Those who would want to pronounce it as a genocide, they continue to be reached over by some countries in the world, asking them not to pronounce it as a genocide. The question that followed thereafter was, why can we not pronounce it as a genocide when all the manners in which it was executed proof beyond a reasonable doubt that it was indeed a genocide. And for those of you that do not want to acknowledge this fact, and perhaps always come on social platform to confuse the definition of the genocide, by giving us numbers, one need to put it clear that genocide is not merely about the numbers. Genocide is about the intent, the deliberate act, your intention to deliver a certain act that will be able to get rid of one's language, even if you did not kill that person, but you have the intent and the determination to get rid of somebody's language, to dehumanize somebody, to maim someone and kill them. So basically, it does not have to be 10, it does not have to be millions, it only requires one. So when you kill one person with an intent, your deliberate intent is to kill that person because you know who that person is, you know which tribe they come from, and you do not want to see them as your partner in that nation or your fellow citizen, but you have the intent to get rid of that individual. Even if that person happened to be one man, one woman, that is a genocide. That is a genocide. Because you have the intent, you have the prerequisite for you to kill that person is that you know that person was a Nuer, you don't like the language, you don't want to share that country together, and then you resolve to what? To killing and getting rid of that person permanently. That's a genocide. So for those of us that are confusing us about the numbers, you want to come and say, oh, only 22,000 were killed. Oh, only 400,000 people were killed. Even if it was only one Nuer man or one Nuer woman that was killed in Juba, with all these intents, it would have been pronounced as a genocide. But the international community is playing a dirty game. Maybe I will come back to this question. What is this dirty game? Because I got a lot in mind, and I want to add them out. Let me go one at a time. Let me take it first with the peace agreement. We all know what eventuated the peace agreement. There will be a part where I will only speak in Nuer. And this part will be the current conflict that we are seeing in Jonglei State and across the Nuer land. I will speak in Tognas. But in between, I will mix it for the following agendas. One, the peace agreement. The peace agreement was an agreement that was signed by the warring parties with hopes that if it has been implemented, or with hope that if it's implemented, it is able to give us a durable peace. Why? Because chapter 1, it is speaking about the governance, putting together the government, formulating a workable agenda for the government, and also laying forward the fundamentals that must be put in place to uphold that government. Chapter 2 is squarely about the security arrangement. The security matrix in our country is what is debilitating our country. The genocide of the Nuer people was made possible because of the inadequate security put in place prior to our independence. The killing of the law in 2008-9 was put in place because there was no security, inadequate security was in place at the time. Therefore, genocide and massacring of certain individuals, certain communities was warranted because there was no formula that was being used in the security sector. The killing of the Fertit in Wau in 2012 was made possible because in South Sudan there was no possible security matrix that was workable. In simple, there was no law in South Sudan. Salva Kiir and the elites of JCE, do not want South Sudan to be ruled and governed under the law, because they are unable to govern this country effectively. They do not want to be held accountable. That is why they want to allow South Sudan to be an unlawful nation, so that no one is able to be held accountable for the injustices they cause on the rest of the people of South Sudan, so that it will be impossible for people to be incarcerated. There will be no conviction because no law. There is no department that are able to enforce the matters of the law. It was done on purpose so that we are the way we are today. That one community will thrive over others. It was put as such by the regime of Salva Kiir. So now peace agreement was put in place so that South Sudan can at least be given a new hope. So that South Sudan at least can be given a platform to address its own issues under the law. It went begging. The first peace agreement of 2015 went begging when Salva Kiir abrogated in 2016. As if the first agreement was a mistake to have been abrogated, we went again seeking for a second chance to a peace agreement. The 2018 peace agreement, yet again, is now abrogated by the very same person in Salva Kiir and his cocoons. This time worse than the previous one. Why and how? Because the current abrogation is actually in the worst stage ever, because the leadership is now wallowing in jail or in confinements. And now Salva Kiir at will is abrogating the peace agreement, destroying every possible avenue to explore the issue of peace. So all these steps, how did we get it wrong that we cannot be able to identify where we have gone wrong? And who took us to this far? Who pushed us to this extent that now South Sudan is going to go back on a full-scale civil war? For those of you that always reward parity judgment, equal blame, the time has come for you to stop. South Sudan is going to go to a full-scale war because Salva Kiir have chose war over peace. None other than Salva Kiir and the regime itself, which is actually encompassed by those actors within the JCE elites. Members of the JCE elites are individuals that do not want South Sudan to exist in peace. Why? Because many of them are tribalists. Many of them want to create an ethnical-based agenda. They want to formulate a workable agenda that is going to build a nation that one tribe is supreme over the others. The ethnocide ideology of the Jiang elites is what is going to destroy this country to ashes, if it has not been destroyed yet. The regime of Salva Kiir have destroyed this country by engineering a tribal conflict, making sure that South Sudanese are pitted against each other based on their tribe. And that is why he started by going to Warab before causing the civil war in December 2013. He went to Arab earlier that year. And he went to arouse the sentiment of hate and discontent within the tribes, within the greater Baragazar region, advocating for disunity of the South Sudanese people. The president himself at the time went and asked the predominant Jiang in Warab that this leadership is yours. There are people who want to take it away from us. Are you going to allow it to be taken? In Dinka, they say Achibigam. That means we are not going to allow it. We are not going to accept it. We are not going to give it away. Therefore, Salva Kiir had planned the tribal conflict from thereafter. Because he knew from that chapter, when he went to Baragazal and the people around at the time chanted, Achibigam, 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 Salva Kiir came back in Juba with a new zeal. That zeal is to destroy South Sudan. As he said, that those of you that are looking at me with those crazy eyes, I'm going to pee on this country. I'm going to pee on this land, mix it with my urine, and I'm going to leave this country at a stage where none of you is going to be able to fix it. All those came to pass. Salva Kiir pee on the land of South Sudan. Not in secrecy, but in a broad daylight, captured on a camera. His prediction came right. He peed on the soil of South Sudan and mixed his urine on the land of South Sudan. He stirred it up, genocided the Nuer people, and continued to genocide the Nuer people up to date. And any other community that is sympathetic to what is going on in South Sudan, that is sympathetic to the suffering of the Nuer nation, are also going to be killed, according to Salva Kiir. The good thing that I like about Salva Kiir is that everything that he is doing it in front of everyone in a broad daylight. He went to Warab and chanted that Achibigam, calling the leadership of South Sudan, the government of South Sudan, as a Jiang property that will not be allowed to be taken by any other given community. That's number one. Number two, the fact that he brought the Matianganyor to Luri, trained them and heavily armed them with a mission to go and kill South Sudanese. That's number two. That Salva Kiir did before our very own eyes. By then, the former chief of staff was James Osman. He was a true eyewitness to what Salva Kiir did. That's number two. Number three, Salva Kiir peed through his own prediction that he's going to pee on the land of South Sudan. He did that in a broad daylight, in front of everyone, while the national anthem was being sung. It came to pass. Salva Kiir told the Al Jazeera reporter when he was asked if he was remorseful of his own action by killing the Nuer in Juba, and that there are women and children that are living in the POCs. Salva Kiir said that you are very lucky. Those people in POCs, they are very lucky to even have been to even escape. He told Saka that you are even lucky that you found people in the POC. So all these that are mentioning, that all these points that are being mentioned on daily occasion, these are proofs that Salva Kiir engineered this war to genocide the Nuer people, and that is what a Bazajo report hailed as what? As a system put in place to kill the Nuer people. The genocide of the Nuer was relegated to a category of a system being put in place to genocide the Nuer people. Therefore, killing the Nuer is a legal entity in South Sudan. It has been legalized by the regime of Salva Kiir that anybody that killed the Nuer can be given a position. Anybody that killed the Nuer can be given a reward. Why are we falling short of singing a genocide on the Nuer people? If all these deliberate acts were put in place by the regime of Salva Kiir, why is the world silenced in pronouncing the genocide of the Nuer people? Going back again to the proven facts that Salva Kiir broadcasted in a broad daylight before our very own eyes, was the issue of the Nuer and Equatoria. What did Salva Kiir say in his speech? He said the Nuer and the Equatorian must pay for killing Jim. That's also another proof. So how many proof do we want to believe that the Nuer people were systematically designed by the regime of Salva Kiir for a genocide? Where do the world want us to go in order for a genocide to be pronounced? If that was also not enough for you, let us go to Makwilwas when he went to Bor on the 17th of April 2014. Another action that was done deliberately in front of everyone, including the United Nations and the security, the peacekeeping force. Makwilwas went and aroused the sentiment of hate among the youth of Bor and personally led them to the front gate of the POC in Bor and allowed them to break in and killed 147. As if that is not enough. If that is not enough also for you, Salva Kiir went against the arms embargo, which was imposed on South Sudan by the international community and the United Nations. Salva Kiir went to Uganda, gave Uganda a lot of money, and then they forged a fake agreement between them, allowing Uganda to go international and buy weapons as if they bought them for themselves, and then cook a plan that they are coming to South Sudan with those weapons and military hardwares, brought them into South Sudan, which was also against the arms embargo policy. Ugandan, they purchased weapons using their names and their credit, but the money comes from Salva Kiir and South Sudan, because they know that South Sudan is going through arms embargo. Therefore, they are not allowed to go legally and purchase weapons. But they had to use Uganda so that Uganda can go and purchase all these armories in the name of Ugandan government. But the money comes from South Sudan, comes from our oil. And then the Ugandan would come into South Sudan by illegally encroaching our land, and they came infiltrate South Sudan, and 2 weeks later they had to go back, faking withdrawal. So they brought in the weapons, the tanks, and all the drones that they had purchased. They left them in South Sudan and they went back to Uganda saying that they withdrawn. But all these ammunitions, all these weapons, all these tanks, all these drones are left in the hands of Salva Kiir regime, and those who even operate them are the Ugandans. If this is not also against the arms embargo policy, what is? Who is? So if the regime of Salva Kiir is not abrogating or going against the will of the United Nations, which is the arms embargo imposed on South Sudan, what about the Uganda? What about the Ugandan government? What does it have to take for the international community to understand that the regime of Salva Kiir is the one that is spent money behind the scene, behind closed doors? There's also another report which was published by the Amnesty International. The Amnesty International, through nearly the past 2-3 years, had been following the developments between South Sudan and the Ugandan government. The Ugandan government and South Sudan have got a lot of development that had happened over the years in terms of acquiring weapons in the name of Ugandan and bringing them to South Sudan. Even the gunships that are being used to bomb South Sudan, the money comes from South Sudan given to Uganda. It was also proven by the Amnesty International. They even produce aerial or satellite pictures of the aerials of the military airports of the UPDF. Before, when all the airlines or the gunship were still on ground, and when they left. A lot of proofs that cannot be denied, that cannot be disputed. Yet the international community continue to render a blind eye. as if nothing is happening. Further proof can be seen on the ground in Nasser, Ulang, Burabie, and all the vicinities villages. Homes were torched, children were burned down with gases. Yet the international community continued to play a blind game where they fold their eyes and kept their ears deaf. While the Nuer people are being genocided, the international community are in deaf silence. This will be a terrible shame, not only to the United Nations, but even to the logical, sensible nation on earth, the US. The US cannot pretend that they do not see and hear what is happening in South Sudan. And they cannot pretend that they do not understand that the collaboration between Salva Kiir and Yoweri Kaguta Museveni of Uganda is producing catastrophic scenes in South Sudan, inhumane mistreatments. Genocide is being put in place. Genocide is being put in place, employed by the regime of Salva Kiir and the Ugandan. The United Nations and the US cannot continue to pretend that they do not understand what is happening. So peace agreement failed because the regime of Salva Kiir do not want peace. They fear that if peace is implemented, they will lose the grip of power. The power will be far gone. The people of South Sudan will own their government and they will decide their fate into the future. And the culprit will be apprehended and produced before the court of law. With this, Salva Kiir knows that he is one of the main, not just a suspect, he is a culprit, the orchestrator of our suffering. And therefore is our number one priority when it comes to justice and accountability. Therefore, he does not want to bring peace because he does not want to be wholly accountable. And the international community failed to see that. So what does this mean to the local citizen of South Sudan? What does this message mean to you? Does it mean we will continue like this? Or this message is actually telling you that you must do something? I think the writings are clear on the wall that the international community will not do anything for you, especially we, the people of South Sudan, we, the suffering citizens. Maybe all of us are not on equal terms when it comes to suffering and the genocide. But those communities that had been debilitated by the regime of Salva Kiir must own their future. They must own their decision making from here on. Because Salva Kiir will not bring them peace. What Salva Kiir is good at bringing to their door is death and agony. Therefore, you must own your own decision making here on. It is only by so doing that will free you and your children and the future of your children's children. Salva Kiir have also proven beyond reasonable doubt that he cannot bring peace by merely signing a document that is called peace agreement. So now if 2015 peace agreement fails, 2018 peace agreement deliberately abrogated beyond repair by Salva Kiir. What gives you a glimmer of hope that there is another third peace agreement that will be signed? What gives you and I a glimmer of hopes that one day, one time, we are going to sign yet another third peace agreement? To be as clear as I would love to make it, there will be no third peace agreement in South Sudan. Genocide had been committed since 15 December 2013, and that genocide continued to be spearheaded by the very same president and the regime of Salva Kiir. For the past 13 years, we continue to be genocided by the regime of Salva Kiir. So when we signed the 2015 peace agreement with high hope that there was going to be peace anchored in the Republic of South Sudan, it went begging because Salva Kiir wanted to continue with the genociding of the Nuer people. As if that was not enough, and the international community wanted to continue telling people of South Sudan, we still have hope in peace agreement. They forced us again to sign the second peace agreement, the extension of the first abrogated peace agreement. We signed it and went to Juba trying to implement it, hoping that this peace is going to succeed. What happened now? It has been destroyed beyond repair. For those of you that believe that there will be peace through this peace agreement, well, I think you are from a different alien world. You are not from this world that we are living in. If you believe that the current peace agreement that is actually destroyed by Salva Kiir, if you believe that it will be resuscitated again, unless you are from a different alien world. First, think about the name that you are going to give it, because I don't think we are going to say there will be another resuscitation of another peace agreement. Because the reason as to why we call this R-axis is because the first axis or the first agreement was destroyed, and then it was to be resuscitated. In Tungnas, Malenyam Chamon, Cha Moyo Bode Salva Kiir, Che Jaco, Che de Liu, Te Mona. And then Churam Kel Kula Ben, Kue Lloyd the Nyai Lloyd the money major Luinteka, Cha resuscitated. So Kane Jaco Belu, Cha resuscitated, Cha Jaco Jen Beluinteka, Cha Chollery access. Here are access. So now, Mukwane Lara won't piece a major and a liu. It's a monanyok. That means a moner would end them. Be a good jolly digger took a while. The second peace agreement is, the first agreement was agreement on the resolution of the conflict in South Sudan. Mayamon Chabe resuscitated. We call it R-axis, which means it has been revitalized because it has lost mojo. It has lost vitality. In life, when you lose vitality, that means you died. Thank you, Brother Too. Thank you. So the first peace agreement died. It was resuscitated. It was revitalized and brought back to life. So now what are you going to say about the second peace agreement that is currently dead? Because we are not going to say it has been revitalized agreement. It will not. It is impossible. It is impossible. And to those organizations, for example, that organization, I think it's called SEPO, that is being, that is being led by those of what's his name? I forgot his name. So that SEPO is still believe that South Sudan will have peace under the same peace agreement that we had signed, and that there will be elections in South Sudan. Shame on them. Shame on them. So you are telling us you are a civil organization that is actually looking at things through civil lenses, yet you do not want to acknowledge the fact that this peace agreement had been fully destroyed by Salva Kiir. Anisi Yakani, yes, thank you. Yeah. I think it's Yasmin Yakani, yes. Those of Yasmin Yakani, I think they do not live in contemporary world of South Sudan. They are living in alien world. They are in alien world because anybody that lives in the current South Sudan as we know it, even the children that were born yesterday, can tell you that there's no peace in South Sudan, that peace agreement is dead. Edmund Yakani, yes, Edmund Yakani. So now, where are these people coming up with these, belief that there is peace in South Sudan and that we can still perform a miracle to hold an elections? Where do they get this belief from? They should be ashamed of themselves. So these civil organizations in South Sudan, they should be, if indeed they are actually thinking civilly, they should be the one advocating in the interest of the people of South Sudan that are suffering, but not in the interest of the elites that are abrogating the peace agreement. Because anybody that is singing the song of an elections in the current environment of South Sudan, you are telling us that you are part and parcel of Juba regime. Whether you are a part and parcel of a civil organization, we deserve the right to disown you. Because the people of South Sudan are suffering before our very own eyes. The depopulation of the country as a whole is taking effect in our, before our very own eyes. So when you talk about elections, what do you really mean? So those of Edmund Yakani need to go back to their senses and realize that they are actually moving away from the realities that are destroying the people of South Sudan. They are not in acknowledgement of the suffering citizen of South Sudan. In fact, they are subordinates to the regime that is orchestrating the injustices on the people of South Sudan. Those of Edmund Yakani will one day be held accountable for playing dirty cards, pretending on one hand as if they are representing the civil population of South Sudan, and yet on the other, they are actually aiding the regime of Salva Kiir to continue to brutalize the very population that they are pretending to advocate on their behalf. Why am I saying this? For nearly 1 full year, the Nuer people, their villages, their livelihood continue to be torn apart, debilitated, burned down to ashes, using chemical by the regime of Salva Kiir. And these civil organizations continue to work hand in hand with the regime of Salva Kiir to mitigate around, making it possible for Salva Kiir to pronounce that there will be elections. And they are supporting that. So there is no peace in South Sudan. The current peace that you think exists is dead. There is no peace agreement in place. So for those of you, if I will have time, I might refer us back to the peace agreement, but maybe I will have a different session where I will come actually and talk about the document we call Reaccess today. So that I will show you the chapters that had been abrogated by Salva Kiir, and whether or not these chapters are able to be reconstituted and be implemented in letter and spirit. The writings on the walls prove that these chapters can never be rehabilitated. There is no way possible for this peace agreement to take effect again. It's dead and buried beneath the rubbles that you see in Nasser. The rubbles that you see in Fangak, they buried the peace agreement. The rubble that you see today in Nirol County, they buried the peace agreement. The shackle that you see around the ankles and the hands of our men and women in Juba that went for peace are further proof that this peace agreement is fully destroyed. It cannot be rehabilitated. So now the question is, who is Salva Kiir as we talk now? As we speak, who is Salva Kiir? Salva Kiir is a lone dictator that does not have any legal ground to run the affairs of South Sudan. So Salva Kiir is not a legal president as we speak now in South Sudan. So for those of you that still believe and think that Salva Kiir is a legal president, he is a constitutional president in South Sudan, you are wrong. Salva Kiir is no longer a legitimate legal president in the Republic of South Sudan. Because the very legal document that was constituted to make it possible for Salva Kiir to remain a president, he has abrogated it. So when Salva Kiir nominated to abrogate the peace agreement that he had signed that gave him the life in the office, when he nominated to go against the peace agreement, he actually nominated to go against his very own seat, his very own legitimacy. My friend Machdang, if you believe that there is election in South Sudan, there will be no elections in South Sudan. And I will come and tell you why. Because some of you are still living in the Stone Age. Some of you need information to be drilled into your brains because you are cocooned in tribal mannerism. For far too long, you have tainted this nation and the flag of this country with your tribal cocoonism and mannerism. That is why it is very hard for us to recover. We cannot recover because of people that have got mentality such as yours. That you think, oh, because it is warm where I am, I don't care about those who are sweating somewhere. Because there is air condition in my room, I don't care about the person that is living in the swamps. Shame on you. If this is a country that you were hoping for to build, that is not the country that I was hoping for to build. Because that the dream that were harbored in my forefathers was to build a country that belonged to all of us. That all the amenities must be shared equally. The resources must be shared equally. That if you have air conditioning in Warap, there must also be air conditioning in Fangak. So if there was a school in Tony, there must be also schools built in Greater Pibor area. Shame on you if this is the regime that you want to support and build. So there will be no elections. Take it from me, there will be no elections in South Sudan. So the men that you had put in place, the men that the regime of Salva Kiir put in place to help him navigate in South Sudan, we will hold them accountable. We will hold Salva Kiir accountable. We will hold Bull Mill accountable. We will hold Paul Nang accountable. We will hold everybody that have helped Salva Kiir to abrogate every peace agreement. We must hold them accountable, including the Nuer sons and daughters. Those Nuer sons and daughters that helped Salva Kiir to abrogate every peace agreement and help Salva Kiir to genocide the Nuer and the rest of the people of South Sudan, they will all be held accountable. There is no shortcut to elections in South Sudan. There is no shortcut, and there will be no shortcuts to an elections in South Sudan. There will be no shortcuts. So, why peace agreement failed? It failed because Salva Kiir, in his heart, he does not want change in South Sudan. He wants to continue to build the tribal domination, an ethnical-based domination, a system put in place that one tribe, one community will enjoy the leverages offered by the country in the expense of all the 63 tribes. This is a system put in place by Salva Kiir, and this is a system, anybody that is speaking about elections, supporting elections, this is a system you are supporting. You are supporting this ideology to build a country where one tribe remain on top forever. The rest of the tribes are going to be the house sweepers, the housekeepers, the toilet cleaners, the garbage collectors. It must not be allowed. It must not be allowed in South Sudan. This system must not be allowed in South Sudan unless over our dead bodies. Because if we do accept this system and allow this system to thrive in South Sudan, our parent that we lost, the forefathers that we have lost, they will not forgive us. because we would have allowed them to die and perish in vain. We must not accept it. Our forefathers fought and died for this country with hope that this country will one day thrive among the communities that are calling themselves democratic, federalist. Nations in the world that are thriving because of collective responsibility. These are the ideologies that killed our forefathers, and we must not accept to allow these ideologies we must not accept to allow these ideologies to be buried by the regime of Salva Kiir. No, it will not be allowed. So now to my next point, which is those who believe in an elections. Let us talk briefly about what is an election. An election is a situation put in place that the citizens are allowed to come together and make a choice, a decision, a genuine, deliberate decision based on an individual thinking, an individual sensible decision making. So when you want to go to an elections, it has to come from you on who and what to choose and why. And also, based on the rules of elections, the environment must be made possible. The environment must be conducive for an elections. Even the village chiefs, when there is an election in the village, the environment are always secured. So where is the environment in the current South Sudan that you want to hold an elections? So which environment do you have currently in South Sudan to have elections? There is none. There is none. So now you are telling me the people of Nasser on their swamps and people of Pangak in the swamps that they live in, you are going to provide them with ballots. Shame on you. And how many do you know are living on swamps? Yet they know that you are not their president. Anybody that is advocating for elections in South Sudan, they are gluttonous and they should be ashamed of themselves. They must be ashamed of themselves. So, again, when you look at the properties, the avenues that are always put in place so that elections is held in a country, some of them are the census. You need to know the population. You also need to know the voters. How many people are voting? Currently there is none. And look at this shambolic situation that we are being put into. The Electoral Commission announced that we are going to have an elections based on the statistics that were gathered before 2010 elections. Now look at this stupid idea. Now that they understand South Sudan is destroyed, there is no population in South Sudan, millions of our citizens are wallowing in poverty, on floods, some are in foreign countries. Now they want to say, we are going to have an elections, but we are going to use the statistics which were generated before 2010 elections. You know what I like? what makes me happy is that the regime of Salva Kiir and the actors in the regime of Salva Kiir are proving their stupidity to the world. Thanks to the SPLM-IO, thanks to Dr. Riek Machar, thanks to IO, thanks to the Nuer population, thanks to all the tribes of South Sudan that continue to say no to the regime of Salva Kiir. We have exposed the evilness of Salva Kiir and the actors of the JCE. Thank God that we have endured this punishment. Thank God that we have endured this suffering. Thank God that we have actually endured this genocide. We have exposed to the world over the stupidity, the tribalism, the hatred, the lack of seriousness. And also the lack of patriotism that these people have for this country called South Sudan. This even further proof that this country was never fought in their own ideology. They never had a workable ideology that would have given us South Sudan. No wonder why they don't care, no wonder why they care less about this country. The current Majdeng, again, you are still proving your meekness. You are proving to us that you either you are deliberately ignorant, or you are naturally ignorant. But I believe you are deliberately an ignorant individual, and that is exactly what kills us in South Sudan. It is the same mentality that we are seeing in Salva Kiir, the same mentality that I'm seeing in your writing. It's actually what is killing the people of South Sudan. If I were to put you in the same office as Salva Kiir is in now, you will do exactly as Salva Kiir, because you have proven to me now that you are of no difference. You come from the same community, you share the same killing ideology, the same hatred ideology, the same tribalism, and the same nepotism. So there is nothing of difference that I can see from you. So therefore, the money that were donated, whoever donate money, it's up to them. But there is not going to be an election in South Sudan. There will be no elections in South Sudan. There will be no elections in South Sudan. So we don't have a census. And even to humiliate themselves further, they are saying we are going to use the statistics that were produced prior to 2010 elections. Now, another sound-minded another sound-minded individual can produce so many questions in regard to this. Pardon me. Because if you are telling me that you are going to have an election based on the statistics that were produced under the Sudan government, under the Sudan government, you see how shameful you are getting yourself into, Brother Deng, Brother Maj Deng or Deng Maj. Can you see how dumb you are allowing the world to see you? You are reducing yourself to a caliber of a fool. Because when you tell the world that knows what to do with elections and knows what items are put in place prior to an elections, okay? Prior to an election, the world knows what are the amenities that should be put in place? What are the items that should be put in place prior to even having an elections in a country? And elections cannot be held in any given country without census. One, because without census, you cannot be able to know the population. You cannot even be able to know the voters. Okay? Yes, 2008 census. We were under Sudan. So now, 2008, that's nearly how many years ago? Over 2008 to 2018. So that's about nearly 16 years. Yes, 16 years. Okay, 16 years. So now you are telling the world that allow us to have an elections where our statistics were produced 16, 20 years ago. Now let me create a memorable picture here. When Salva Kiir was given the leadership in 2005, there were men that were within the government of the Southern Sudan at the time. Where are those people today? They all died. I can mention there is, if not thousand, if not millions, there are thousands of men and women that have died over the years. So now you are telling me that we are going to witness again the production of the ghost names. That the SPLA continue to use in the military so that they can continue to receive the payment for those who died years ago. How dumb we become. How stupid is the SPLA? How stupid is the SPLA? So they want the world to know how dumb and how stupid they are by saying we are going to have an elections, but this time around we are going to do this. We are going to use the statistics which were produced by the Sudan government. It's very sad. In fact, sometimes it sounds funny, but it is very sad that some among us, although they are highly educated, they continue to degrade this country called South Sudan. So even if it was 2010, let's say 2010 for that matter, if that will make you happy. So 2010 to 2020, that's 10 years, right? So 2010 to 2020, that's 10 years. Okay? And then currently we are just one night or 2 nights away from 2026. So that tells you what? So from 2010 to 2026, that's 16 years. So 16 years, you want us to hold an elections based on 2010, just to make you happy. Let's not say 2008. So you want us to have an election on the statistics based on 2010s. How many of your family have you lost from 2010? Simple fact. How many have you lost in your family since 2010? How many died in your own sub clan. How many of you lost in your own sub clan for the last 16 years? What about your entire clans? How many of you lost? What about your community? For example, if you're from Yerol, how many of you lost in Yerol since 2010? Do you know them? Because for me, from 2013 to current, we have lost more than 500,000, and some statistics are even showing that we have lost over 800,000. If you read on the websites, if you go to the United Nations predictions, they are currently saying that South Sudan, from 2013 to now, they have lost easily over 1 million. Okay? Over 1 million lost from 2013 to current. So now that 1 million that we have lost from 2013 to now, you want their name to vote to be voted for. Yeah? Stupid. Very stupid. Very stupid. And the guy that's the head of the Electoral Commission is a doctor, for that matter, is someone educated. And he wants you guys to vote. Sometime I would love to be Mundeng, and I can use the magical experience in the past to destroy all these people. Because you are proving to me and the world that you are not worth living. Because if you can tell us that let us vote based on statistics 20, 15 years, 16 years ago, and you want that election to be trustworthy and be accredited as credible elections, that's stupid. That's very stupid. Okay, let us look at other things. So statistics or census is one. But in the peace agreement that was going to give us the elections, it was stipulated clearly that the population has to come back to the country. Currently, Salva Kiir is dispersing the population, sending our people away from South Sudan. That is in contrary to the agreement, if you still believe that the agreement is in existence. Okay? It also speaks about the unified security, unified police, the soldiers, or the security sector must be rearranged. That is what was addressed in the agreement, if you still believe in the agreement. What about the environment itself? So you want my people to vote while they're being bombed in Nasser, they're being bombed in Lankan. Yesterday alone, 27 people were killed in a market. The bomb that was dropped in Lankan killed 27 people. So now you want my people to vote under bombardment. That's stupid. Every idea that is being engineered by the regime and the actors is very stupid. Very stupid. You are just making South Sudan become a laughable stock. We are being laughed at. We are being laughed at by the international community. Even the regional countries now, they are looking at us as dumb and bastard because of the regime of Salva Kiir. Because the things that we are doing, the things that we are, we are saying, the events that are unfolding before our very own eyes, they are demeaning. They are actually destroying our credibility. Whether you believe that you are educated and you can come and tell us that, let us go to an election without census, the world will see you as stupid. So when you are calling people to go to a voting booth while you are bombing them, the world will say you are stupid. That's why Donald Trump referred to Africa, and I think some African countries, not all the Africa. If I was Trump, I would name South Sudan under the leadership of Salva Kiir as being the shithole. Salva Kiir has made South Sudan a shithole in the African continent. At the inception of our war, some of us were predicting that South Sudan was going to be worse like Somalia. But now we are worse than Somalia. Somalia is even far more better than us. They are logical, sensible, and mannerism people. They have manners. At least they know why they're fighting. And they don't just kill themselves based on tribal lines, just like the genocide we're witnessing in South Sudan. So we are worse than Somalia. The regime of Salva Kiir is not legal. There is no government in South Sudan. Based on the terminologies that were signed in the agreement is dead. Therefore, the regime of Salva Kiir is illegitimate. There is no way possible you are going to create legitimacy by forcing the people of South Sudan to go to an elections. That is sham. That is shambolic. So Salva Kiir is trying to create a legitimacy for himself to furthermore, cause atrocities on the people of South Sudan. And we are not going to allow that. So there's a question of who have declared war currently in South Sudan. Salva Kiir declared war in South Sudan. No other person that declared war in South Sudan. In 2013, it was Salva Kiir that came out. Remember that evening in Australia, for those of us that were in Australia at the time. Remember that fateful evening on Sunday night when Salva Kiir came out dressed in military fatigues. And announced to the world that there was a coup happening inside Juba. But less than 24 hours later, that was only a move that he orchestrated so that he can deploy the Matiang Anyor that he brought from Warab 6 months before. It was just a pretext for the Matiang Anyor to be deployed. Men that do not even know how to speak English. All they know is Achibigam. All they understand is Achibigam. And they were oriented that if you knock a door and that person, you ask Male, and they respond Male Mikoa, kill them. Even if they were born yesterday, kill them. Even if there's a woman that is pregnant and is about to give birth, kill them, rape them, burn them in their houses. That was Salva Kiir. He caused the war of 2013. And for those of you that are coming here sometime, trying to confuse the environment, saying that Salva Kiir was given a coup. He was the one that orchestrated his own very coup so that he can use it as a pretext to kill the Nuer people. Salva Kiir again caused the war of 2016 by abrogating the peace agreement. How did he do that? He wooed Taban Dengai and Lord Gatkwal to his side and used them to destroy the peace agreement. It was Salva Kiir. Had he been in love for peace, he would not have accepted it. If Salva Kiir was a president for the people and the nation of South Sudan, and he was indeed a peaceful man and wanted to bring peace to the nation, he would not have accepted any individual that would play cards to destroy the peace agreement. But Salva Kiir wanted to destroy the peace agreement with hope that he can kill his opponent. Then he failed. Now we went back for another peace. Who is destroying this peace agreement? It's Salva Kiir himself. So why are we not saying these things? Why are we not being direct? So why are we not being direct? It is because some of us were cocoon nurtured and weaned in tribal manners. The only thing that they know is that South Sudan must be ruled under one community. This community is only going to be the supreme among the rest of the communities of South Sudan. So you are now son of the most high community. You are born in a supreme community that do not accept to be led by others. And we must do whatever it takes to stay on top. That is who you are. So every war that we see in South Sudan is caused by Salva Kiir. And that is because Salva Kiir will not rest. If Salva Kiir is not killed or die naturally, he will never rest, because his agenda is to make sure that he build a platform for the ethnic Jeng. Even if I do know 100% is not all the Dinka that support Salva Kiir, but it's only very few that are against Salva Kiir. Majority are supporting this ideology that one community must remain on top. One community must remain on top. The 1% or 10% for that matter that still believe that South Sudan is for all of us, they play no part. They are not considered. Their voices are not given rooms. Because majority believe that the fundamental which were set forth by the elites of the JCE and the regime of Salva Kiir is what they have to support. That this country must remain and must remain to be led by one ethnic. The supremacy of one ethnicity will always remain. That is what they support. But what about you, the rest of the people of South Sudan? Is this what you believe in? Because I don't believe in this ideology. I don't believe, even now for that matter, I don't believe that the Nuer can lead South Sudan for life. I don't believe, because I believe that South Sudan belongs to South Sudanese. And anybody for that matter, that is of sound mind, anybody that has the capability to become a leader in that country can do so, as long as the people of South Sudan support him or her. But these mere ideologies, these evil ideologies must be destroyed. If South Sudan is to remain standing among the world nations into the future, if South Sudan is to thrive among the world nations, this supremacy ideology of an ethnical base must be destroyed. If it is not destroyed, South Sudan will fragment. South Sudan will disunite. Because this is the same ideology that actually gave us South Sudan. The reason why we fought for more than 50 years against Jalaba, we fought the Turks and Anglo-Egyptians. We fought the successive regimes of Sudan. We fought the British and the European colonials. Why did we do so? Why did we do so? We did it because we did not want to be subjugated. We never want to be subdued. We wanted to live and explore our capabilities as God given them unto us. We wanted to live in a free and fair society that we are able to explore our capabilities. That is why we fought the successive regimes of Sudan. Otherwise there was no any other reason. Even the religion that we added to the list, that was the least of thee. One of the fundamental was the fact that we wanted to live in a free society. But what about you here today in South Sudan? You that are supporting these ideologies that actually made it possible for us to fight against the Arabs. Now you are supporting them to be anchored in South Sudan. You wanted us to live under the same brutal system that we left in Sudan, but now under the Jeng in Salva Kiir. Now you wanted to convince the people of South Sudan that it was bad to be ruled by the Arabs under the same system, but now it is gloriously good. It is really good for the Dinka to lead us under the same system that we fought Arabs. Now, what is the difference between Salva Kiir and Bashir of Sudan? What is the difference between Salva Kiir and Aboud? What is the difference between Salva Kiir and Nimeri? You tell me the difference, because I don't see any difference. They are similar. In fact, Salva Kiir has even gone beyond what the successive regimes of Sudan did to us. Salva Kiir went beyond. In fact, Salva Kiir is the worst compared to the regimes of Sudan. The regime of Sudan never touched Nasser, never touched children, never burned down the Nasirians with gases. Okay? The bombardment that we had witnessed in Fangak, Law, and the entire Nuer lands was never done by the Jalaba. It was never done by the Jalaba. Even though the entire rebellions was harbored within the region of the Nuer. The destruction caused on the Nuer people and the rest of the South Sudanese people by Salva Kiir is far more worse than the destruction caused by the Jalaba. If we were to tell things as true as they are, the destruction that we had witnessed 13 years of brutal killing, genociding of the Nuer people for good 13 years. Good 13 years, the Nuer people bear the brunt of the regime of Salva Kiir. So how can we be able to live in peace under the regime of Salva Kiir here on? How can we accept even to have an election under the regime of Salva Kiir? If we are to be truthful, the regime of Salva Kiir is done and dusted. Currently, the regime of Salva Kiir is illegal, illegitimate, because the very peace agreement that gave it legitimacy, he has destroyed and killed. He has arrested his peace partners and now forcing them to go through a shambolic court, a tribal court, where 8 men from the Nuer ethnic, 8 men from the Nuer ethnic are being tried. In other words, as put forward by others, some say 8 men, 8 Nuer men in a Dinka court. Simple as that. Can it be any more clearer than that? 8 Nuer men in a Dinka court. Who dispute this? Who can dispute this? 8 Nuer men in a Dinka court or Dinkanized court. A court that was put merely to punish the Nuer for telling the world that we are being genocided. That is what that court is doing there. That court is nothing to do with justice. The court that we are seeing today had nothing to do with justice. The case of Nasser has the string attached to the genocide of the Nuer people in 2013. The bombardment of the Nuer people in Fangak, the Low Nuer, and all the other areas that are being bombarded by the regime of Salva Kiir has the string attached to the genocide of the Nuer in December 2013. You cannot differentiate the current killing of the Nuer people in Nasser and the Jikany land and Fangak and the entire Nuer areas. You cannot differentiate it to the genocide. It is joined together. It is just an extension of the genocide orchestrated by Salva Kiir in 2013. The people I blame, these gluttonous Nuer men and women that have chosen only their throats and their tummies, I blame them, and they must pay consequence. They must pay greatly in the near future for their inaction at the time of the need, that the people that give birth to them needed them the most. The community that gave rise to them needed them the most. These are the people I point fingers. I'm not going to point fingers at Salva Kiir. I'm going to hold Salva Kiir accountable. And if any chance comes, Salva Kiir I don't even want to say it. Salva Kiir will pay greatly. Will pay greatly. Instead of him saying the Nuer and Equatorians are going to pay greatly for killing the Jeng, Salva Kiir will pay greatly. Will pay greatly for killing the Nuer and the innocent citizen of South Sudan. And for anyone that had supported Salva Kiir over the years, may you be a Nuer son, may you be a Nuer daughter, may you be any other community around South Sudan, and you had supported Salva Kiir, time is coming when you will be held accountable. Because the suffering that has been spearheaded onto my people and the citizens of South Sudan by the regime of Salva Kiir will not go without justice and accountability. People must be held accountable for the atrocities they engineered orchestrated, and implemented. So now let us move to my next discussion. I'm going to talk just a little bit about the Dr. Machar and the 7 Nuer men arrested by a tribal regime and being tried on a shambolic court, in a shambolic court, put together to reward tribes or to reward a tribe based on the old scores. What do I mean based on the old scores? What you see unfolding now in Juba, the court system put in place to trial Dr. Riek Machar and the 7 accused, the 7 Nuer men accused, has nothing to do with the death of Majur. In fact, if you heard most of the tapes from Majur, Majur is actually blaming the regime of Salva Kiir for not allowing them to be changed early enough. There are so many reports that were given to the regime of Salva Kiir asking them to be substituted or for them to be swapped because they had been constrained in Wiyara for far too long. But their claim and their requests were always turned down. They always been turned down. Even the last 1 month before his demise, they were turned down. So, Majur, if anyone is to be blamed and held accountable for his death, it would be Salva Kiir and the regime of Salva Kiir. Because they are the one that refused the withdrawal of those forces in Wiyara. Series of investigation, series of meetings were conducted that involved the local authorities, that involved the governor and the deputy governor of Upper Nile State, that involved the presidency, and there was also a consensus reached by the presidency to withdraw those in Wiyara, so that the unified forces and the unified police were to be shifted and deployed in Nasser. All were left begging. They all were, they were thrown out by the regime of Salva Kiir. So now when Majur died and those who perished in Wiyara, if someone is to be held accountable, it's Salva Kiir himself. So these cards that are being played by Salva Kiir, smearing Dr. Riek as the culprits of the Nasser issue, Salva Kiir is a culprit. Salva Kiir is the orchestrator of the violence in Nasser. But one time, the truth will be presented to you in facts. Salva Kiir is accountable for what had happened in Nasser and Wiyara. So the court in Juba has nothing to do with the issue of Wiyara. This has something to do with old wounds. The grievances that were carried forth by the GM, especially the actors in the JCE. That is why Aldo Ajo, in the last few days, some of you that have heard his tape, he said that Dr. Riek should be jailed, Dr. Riek should be killed. You see the other old lady that came out saying that Dr. Riek should be killed. So this is a tribe judging a Nuer man. It has nothing to do with justice. And the world must know the clarity between the courts in South Sudan and justice that is being searched for by the people of South Sudan. The current court in South Sudan has nothing to do with justice that we all are yearning for. The current court that is taking place in South Sudan is a tribal court that want to judge certain actors from Nuer tribe so that they can reward their tribes. For example, now if Dr. Riek and the 7 accused are convicted, they will continue to say, oh, we have given justice to Majur and his family. That's lies. It is all about tribe and what had happened previously. What happened in 83? What happened in 84? What happened in 85, 86, 87, 88, 89 when the Gaja were killed? What happened in 1991? It split. This is what they're trying to justify. This is the justice for those events. It has nothing to do with Majur. We must be the advocates that tell the world what is happening. Because the world do not understand why peace agreements are failing in South Sudan, which is my next one. Why are peace agreements failing in South Sudan? Peace agreements are failing in South Sudan and they will continue to fail. If there is another third peace and fourth peace and fifth peace, they will continue to fail. Why? Because one, Salva Kiir as a Jem and the JC elites, the ideology is to make sure that there is no one that will go against their will, which is to create a government for the Jiang and by the Jiang and for the future of Jiang in the Republic of South Sudan. The only thing that they are failing to achieve is to change the entire name of South Sudan into a Jiang nation. That is the only thing that they cannot be able to achieve. But everything they want to achieve, they will do, unless you go against them. That is why when you see them going against Dr. Riek, even a child that was born yesterday, one ought to question why. It is because the regime of Salva Kiir want to build an ethnical-based nation in South Sudan, disguised by the flag of South Sudan. It is like a hyena coming into your hut, covered in a sheep skin. Then you will be like, okay, that's a sheep, let it go inside. But the next morning, you will find that all your goats or all your cattle are eaten. That is what Salva Kiir is doing. Inside deep, they want to create a nation for Jiang and by Jiang. But outside they are covering that ideology. They are covering it with the colors of our flag, so that you think, oh, we are wearing this flag together. We belong to the same ideology. No, you're not. Those with Salva Kiir and the regime and the JC elites, you don't have the same ideology. Because your ideology is to create a conducive environment for all sons and sons and daughters of South Sudan. But the ideology in Salva Kiir is to kill the Nuer and any South Sudanese that is able to take leadership from them or from him, you will be killed. If you ambition to become a leader in South Sudan, you will die under the leadership of Salva Kiir, because you are going against the will of creating an ethnical-based nation. That is the only ideology that is killing us in South Sudan. Salva Kiir making sure that he's building a nation for Jiang and by Jiang and for Jiang only. That is what is killing us. So when Chankos, when Simon come, when Galwa come, when Waniga comes, and they want to say, "Ben, I want to become a president," Oh, they will hate you and they will kill you for that, because you are now going against the ideology. We are not sharing the same ideology, which is to create a conducive environment for us to live in peaceful coexistence as sons and daughters of South Sudan. So that is the reason why we will never achieve peace in South Sudan so long Salva Kiir remains in power. He will use whatever means necessary to build a Jiang kingdom in South Sudan. But is this ideology shared by all Jiang? As I mentioned earlier, no. But the Jiang that are going against this will are very minute, they're minimal. Maybe the percentage is only 1% or 2% of the Jiang. The rest are in support of this. Why? This takes me to my next step, Nyandeng Garang and Mabior Garang. Okay? When the war erupted in 2013 and the genocide of the Nuer ensued, Nyandeng came out and said the Nuer were killed. But thereafter there were a lot of series of meetings that the Jiang elite conducted with Nyandeng. Okay? Try to realign Nyandeng with the ideology that was born in 83-84 by Garang, and the ideology and the Boer issue that they continue to claim in the aftermath of the event of 1991. They went and woo Nyandeng back again to become affiliated with Salva Kiir because the ideology will remain intact. What is that ideology? To create and build a Jiang kingdom in the Republic of South Sudan. Okay? Also Mabior Garang. Initially, he came to the SPLM-IO. He served, we rewarded him, not because he had anything tangible, not because he had any food soldiers, not because he had any education over the rest of us, but because we believe in inclusivity. We believe that we are better together. That if you can come from your given community, you can come from your given community. This community called Nuer, we have an ideology that is for all of us. That we have a cake that we can share for all of us. We share the cake together with Mabior Garang. We share the cake together with Jesus Deng Mading and many of their likes. We never look at them as strangers because they're part and parcel of the fabric of South Sudan. But over the years, the Jiang elites never ceased contacting Nyandeng, contacting Mabior, contacting any Jiang that is moving around with the SPLM-IO. Those whom you are seeing today still persist to support the IO. Perhaps you can look at them as true Southerners that share the same ideology with us. But majority of them were wooed back into the regime of Salva Kiir because of one thing, that this is our party, this SPLM was built by Garang, this is your husband party, this is your father party, this is your Jiang party, you must come back. That is why a lot of sons and daughters from the Jiang community that came to the SPLM-IO beforehand, they were wooed back to the SPLM without a complaint. Because the agenda is the same. Let us build a Jiang kingdom in this republic called South Sudan. You can see it in different departments. Look at it in the security sector. Look at look at the foreign affairs. Okay, look at the the internal security, external security. Look through the justice system. Look at the policing. Look at the customs. President, look at the presidency. President Salva Kiir now is Jen. Now Nyandengarang is elevated, is a Jen. Waniga is nothing. It's nothing. It's just a name. It's just a Photoshop. Okay? Don't take him serious. It's just a Photoshop. Okay? Paul Nang, Cholton Balo, these are Salva Kiir, Cholton Balo, Paul Nang, these are the primary decision making that are debilitating this country. And that one thing in common they share is the interest of Jengism, building a Jeng-dominated nation in South Sudan, creating a supremacy. That's what they want. So now, Mabior is woo back, Jisedeng Mading is taken back, Nyandeng now taken back, Abdel Bagi Ayi is taken back, Diu Matuk is taken back, Dawa Turjong is taken back, not even one bullet fired by all this. All of them now, they abandoned their so-called parties. Now they went back to the SPLM. What is the essence in this? What is the message in this to you, the rest of the people of South Sudan? That this Jengism, this evil intent to create a nation for Jeng within the umbrella of South Sudan is still thriving unless you come against it, unless you go against it. That is what I'm doing, and that's what you should do. Because this South Sudan belongs to all of us, including the Jeng themselves. But this toxic ideology, this terrible ill-intent ideology to create and forge a platform for Jeng in the Republic of South Sudan must be abrogated if South Sudan is to stay united. So now, question, why did Nyadeng accept to take the roles of Dr. Riek? Through history, you can go back as 1991. For quite a while now, 1991 is being used as a tool to pull together these Jeng elites against who? Against Dr. Riek. That is why you see Dr. Riek is in the situation he's in Juba. Not merely because of what had happened in Nasser, but because of the old wounds that refuse to heal within the Jeng. But the problem with my people in Jeng is that they want us to scratch and actually open bare the old wounds. They want us to go back as far as 1984, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, when the genocide of the Gajak and the Low happened. They want us to go back and dig deep and open the wounds after 1991. The genocide and the massacring of the Gawar by George Athor, and the killing of those of Angak and the Nuer by Kwal Manyang. They want you to also open the record books of the genociding in cold blood of the Nuer general and soldiers in Greater Equatoria and beyond. This is what they want us to do. Because for them, they don't want to see the future for South Sudan. They only see the future through the lenses of their tribe. Because if they do see a vision, a future for the entire country, they would have to come in terms with the fact that this South Sudan belongs to all these 64 or 65 tribes. regardless of how bad I feel about Simon, regardless of how hate do I have against a certain community, these tribes are part and parcel of this fabric called South Sudan. But their continuous refusal to submit to this notion that we have a country that is for all of us is now going to be the means by which this country is going to be torn apart. This country is going to disintegrate because of the insistence by those actors in Juba regime or Salva Kiir regime, the actors in JCE elites or the elites of JCE, and those within the community of Jem that still believe that we must scratch our old wounds. So when you believe that you have been done the worst, when you believe that you have received the worst, you haven't heard anything yet. You haven't heard the testimonies from the Gajak community. The Gajak that were actually massacred for more than 5 to 7 years by the SPLM. You have not heard the testimonies from the law, whose women were raped, whose men were subjugated, dehumanized. You haven't heard from the Gawar, whose more than 5,000 people were burned down in churches by those of Georgia. So now these wounds you want us to scratch, these are the wounds that will destroy us. Here we are today sitting and standing before you telling us or telling you that this South Sudan is for all of us. What you think is not what everyone is thinking. If you think that you can believe, oh, unless I've been paid back for 1991, what about if I ask for 1986? Who's going to pay me back for killing my mom and my aunties in Akobo by the soldiers of Garang? Who's going to pay me back? And who's going to pay back all the orphans that were orphaned by the SPLA? Who's going to pay them back? So now if you can say, okay, let Riek Machar be dehumanized because of the event of 1991. Who are we going to dehumanize for the event of 1985, 86, 87, 88, 89? And who are we going to dehumanize in position of Georgia Thor and Kolmanyang? You as a community, I truly believe that it is not the entire community, but the majority that are supporting the regime of Salva Kiir in this quest, you must be ashamed of yourself. Those of Aldo Ajo that came out a couple of days ago calling for Salva Kiir to destroy Riek Machar to be imprisoned or killed, he should be ashamed of himself. Aldo Ajo will die even before Dr. Riek. But he will bear witness to the change Riek Machar is going to bring to this country before he perishes. I'm not a prophet, but most of these people that hate Dr. Riek Machar to death, these people that are dehumanizing the Nuer people because Riek Machar has an ambition to lead South Sudan, they will not perish. They will witness, they will bear true witness to the transformative powers that will be brought forth by Riek Machar and the Nuer nation. So now, I'm not going to spend much on Parkol. Parkol was an IO official. He was, in fact, a minister of peace building under the leadership of SPLM-IO. He chose to betray his own people, his own movement, and his leaders. Okay, he chose to betray them by working together with Salva Kiir, just like what Taban did in 2015, 2016. So Honorable Parr joined hand with Salva Kiir to abrogate the 2018 peace agreement. Therefore, Parkul is not an SPLM-IO any longer. But they are in the space where they are confusing a lot of Nuer people and South Sudanese people that they are in Juba implementing peace. When indeed what he's doing in Juba is not implementing any peace. Parkul is not implementing any peace with anybody. Parkul is part and parcel of Salva Kiir regime against the peace agreement. That is why if Parkul was implementing peace with Salva Kiir, where is the peace first that you should ask? Where is the peace that they are implementing? Parkul is not a signatory to any peace agreement. He hasn't signed any paperwork that can signify his position. It was Dr. Riek on behalf of the SPLM-IO. So if Dr. Riek is arrested, who is Parkul to imitate himself as Dr. Riek? So this was just an image created to fool many among us, that there is peace being implemented. But if you were truly a member or a leader within the SPLM-IO, you could also ask, you should also ask, why is my leader being imprisoned? Why is my leader being imprisoned? And therefore that can give you a legal ground also to challenge working together with these people. But Parkul made a decision that he will be held accountable for now and into the future, that he has to work with Salva Kiir to help him destroy the peace agreement. And they have done that. They have done that. They have succeeded in destroying the peace agreement. So Parkul, their message, when you talk to them, they say, we are here to implement peace, we are for peace. This message was concocted, it was formulated to mislead some people, that they have to believe that there is peace somehow in South Sudan. And also, you could even go further by questioning, if there was peace implemented in Juba, why are my people being bombarded? Parkul come from Fangak. Women are giving birth on waters, on swamps in Fangak. So if Parkul is implementing peace, why are the women in Fangak giving birth on waters? Why are the hospitals in Fangak not operational? Why are people bombed in Fangak and Jazeera in general? Stupidity sometimes can take us far and can destroy individual. So Parkul will be held accountable for his action. Okay, he will be held accountable for his action. So for those of you that believe Parkul is doing something with peace agreement, you must be ashamed of yourself. There is no peace agreement from Parkul. There is no peace agreement with Parkul and Salva Kiir. Peace agreement is dead, and we are back on a drawing board. We are going to charter our way forward. We are going to create and formulate a workable agenda for us into the future without Parkul. So now let's talk about those who believe that they are still part of SPLM-IO, but they are working with Parkul and Salva Kiir and Riek and Riek Bim and this guy called Dollar, or any other area in South Sudan. If you believe that you are an SPLM-IO member and a leader and you work with these people, know that you are no longer part of SPLM-IO. If fear is what is subjugating you, then let us know. Because there is clear line between the SPLM-IO and the regime of Salva Kiir. SPLM-IO is standing with the civilians that are being tortured in Nasser and Jikany area in general. SPLM-IO stands strong together with the people in Jonglei State, the Law Nuer in particular, and the Gawer that are being tortured, bombed every day. SPLM-IO continues to stand shoulder to shoulder with the rest of the Nuer population in Unity State and South Sudanese in Greater Equatoria and Greater Bahr el Ghazal. Any place that citizens are suffering, that is SPLM-IO suffering. So where there are people squandering the opportunities, where there are people abrogating the peace agreement, know that these areas are not for SPLM-IO. Because the SPLM-IO that I know is no longer in the peace agreement. And for what we know so far, there is no peace agreement. The peace agreement that we know is abrogated by Salva Kiir. And that is why 8 Nuer men that happen to be leaders within the SPLM-IO are currently being forced on a concocted charges in a kangaroo court, tribal court, under the leadership of Salva Kiir. Let the South Sudanese people know that there is no legitimacy in the leadership of Salva Kiir. What Salva Kiir is doing, it is just grabbing the privileges. It's just grabbing the opportunity that are under his wings in Juba. If we meet Salva Kiir in Bor, he would not have these privileges. So let him continue to use the leverage under his wings. Time is coming fastly that Salva Kiir shall be no more, because peace agreement is no more. So in conclusion, and then I will switch to Tongnas. Peace is dead. No peace agreement in South Sudan. Salva Kiir legitimacy is no longer there. There will be no elections in South Sudan. There can be no elections in South Sudan in the current status. Without peace agreement, without census, without putting everything in order, without implementing the security matrix, no peace in South Sudan, and no elections. And there is no legitimacy. We are back on drawing board. We are also legitimate in our own right in the SPLM-IO. Our leadership is legitimate, and we are going to create a conducive environment also for us to thrive. So now I will switch to Tongnas. Edmund Gora balat ka Tongnora, mentuore loka. Katuore jikany, katuore inuara kelu. Tangwa no kon nuari, chane chok ka step mi chirore lot ka kon. Step mi tang kon ken kon mengazo wo jene bani choktin. Step mi cha kon latin would janga mengai kon e chale Salva Kiir. Chana raja ka cha kon choktin, e chane choktin. Medan ka jalao. Chang ni me kon rogat, cha kon lingu jalao point de jen take a tactic to chale one ne be damor be nung be jojin go anijin long ka David got kick be David got kick jojin go anijin long cái chang ko yin wo na chang ko vi David gar ke yen ga mai de me kam ga ye jalab be David be chang ko wo dwai mai inobo on the other side be chang ko wo nyo ju jin jek David gar ke wo doi ni David gar ke mai bi David gar ke nyo bi chang ko nyo jen we David gar ke wo ye dwai mai an ngai ni wo ko no re chana ga ngai kan tri kan tak ting ti dial nga da nu ni wa le chana ga ngai kan bo me dan la leng je wu no ra je ne po do kon ni po do mis cha ku la be je wo ne che tho wu no ra cha po do kon ko mi kan wu no ra kan po do kon mi che we cha ra je wo ne wu no ra ngu go ro ko sel fakir cha ya lo nga je la pa le je ke le ge je la wa je ni wo ne wu no ra po ne cha po ne je kon cha po ne kon la mi ku la ri je me kie do gwan ne ko ti cha bu po do kon do la o gwan do ne ko me da ne pot ko mi o ka ba ne le gui ba ne le changai but based on the current standing che joy wo ne wu no ra cha po do kon la o wu no ra de ra tho ban pin ko bo mi but God come down wu no ra wa je ni po do mis po do kon wu no ra je na wa je ni e chang be liu che de wo bo wan doran kie be main tabran be wotul ke wun mi chagar it is very unfortunate ka our time che to wo wu nu no ran tame chi ka ne ti de main tam ne de gatul dorina ko chana ro ja ka cha ko la tune wut janga mi cha la sal fakir ko che ba ngai o wu no ran no yo e je ne ku la ro ne kare wu no ra du mi cha ko ngai ni wa le je no yo ngai ni ka ri ya de chu so wu no ra point de ken che lia gan man ni che jai che lia gan man ni lia gan ke lia man ke lia gan man ni lia gan nye man ni lia wi kwan che jai ko jen go ra real ka sal fakir chi wu no ra che deny e wo jen kan ga no ra kan ga mi garing ran ka ju wu no ra ko je deny wo ne kan no ra genocide ka ju ko jen te ga yo to kam ga jen ko jen ba gar ga ba gar dwel gor wu no ra ko je deny wo ne man no ra ka ne kan ka rep ka je wu no ra wu no ra ko je deny wo ne ga no ra ka ne kan ka kwet ka unity state wu no ra ba ko je deny wo ne ga no ra kan ka na ka gudela police headquarter wuni nuara ti more than 400 te cha khap cha la re duel ka gudela kwa ka la baraka window ni cha deny wu nuara ken to ka ju ko jen ba mu ga yo wu nuara chup ka der je ko chole ga nye man ga da man ga ke ti la ngwen ni re cheng nuara ti gang wi nuara chole ke ke terrorist ka ku yuni e wu nuara no wu nuara e chup ko wona ne ja man tu de ko we mal ni am tel fakir ka gor yuni kana position wu nuara we ka mere ko cha wu jang mi cha ma juri cha na ka na ka ga nuara ke gas gara ka che we e wu nuara no wun nuora wiye ko chama jurna but cha wiye ko ne man kien toy go wi pi ne ka fan ga cha wiye ko ne dwel wal kien cha ka bo cha wiye ko ne gad kien pan kien ti dab ke wale naka ke cha wiye ka jang wun nuora we wiye ko ne chama jur ya na Ganan chang ko de ngana wal but lia chang ko da ram kel gar mi cho we wa nyo charbo in a different angle gar kan 1 million ti chana in a space of 15-16 years gar lia ram kel dera par nu ke pan wana me ka nyirol ka lankin kia market cha yodo me cha bo yanen chine ti 27 cha ka kun cha ka bo pin wana ka market ne ti 27 cha ka bo pin cha ka mol chi ka lu straight away kan lon nya kia nen berar be bo wiye kan roi gar ko nen berar be bo wiye kan bul brown nen berar be wiye kan lurai kong nen berar be wiye kan james will mai nen be wiye kan lambol nen be wiye kan garul mai mul nen be wiye kan regai ko nen be wiye kan reu bim nen be wiye kan dollar nen be wiye con chua ra le chang it we ka buro bi ka helicopter gad je kan di cha dorian ja ka wang ke we ka nyo gur ka buro bi ku ka lo ku ye dollar tok ku jang te kon de cha nyong ko ba gad kien ba ka be joy ku ye bun ku ka le ner la pat ne jok de jo ke congratulation ko chia gad ko chia ka wang ke gas congratulations ko chia gad ko chia ka joirar ka nasir chia ka joirar chia ka bali buru bi I congratulate them e wunwara mi chi no ni jaide wunwara mi chi no ni jaide shame di chane no nware so now min gora balat right into ore lo ka ala kora me to okay 2013 jin mi jira mi cha dab at the time ka ti go runda wala we wo amani anga te kwa la da bo da to ke 2013 and tam chi ka 13 years old mi chi roi ga ga de tam la de ji wo ne sal fakir ke mari na la de ji wo sal fakir ke gwalen na la de ji sal fakir ke malen na yet wunwara mi deal ga ni ke 70 wunwara mi deal ga ni ke 60 wunwara mi deal ga 1950 ga je wo kan nuare kan na ka jub ga je nyamu international community nuare kan na ka jub yet gan mi dab ke 2013 ka pai waro ngai je de mi cha dab ka unamis ngai je de mo wala la re wo cha nan na ko wunwara ya kwa ni jaide cha no rule cha community de cha parwi kwela wo jang kel karame no community de jala kel karame no community de kwera me mo rara mo kula ga ka gwanter beje be ben jo je jini men haka na do yeri du jin chanko e wunwara me akoko yo wunwara me no rule ke ne jide wunwara me lo be chui ke chua nuar community wunwara me lo be chui ko ba South Sudan chen wunwara ya no ne jaide ke ne role so now amani go kun ye nuar te kai ni ka go chiran go de ba ka yo chiran go de ba ka yo in particular Dakwith Ray Locker. In fact, Chagoro won and a run while a day right along, Kukui Dakwith, can a native con the Chawokin brainwash. To Guru won and a candidate Chonke and Kewun which are little fakir, Ramila win and Ray Nuera. Ramila Chun Ray Nuera, Benuera, Jun and a corner Querani Fakir, can a Querana Bull Mill, can a Querani Paul Nyang, can a Querani Cholton Barlow. Yasalam, Jawalong Yak. Jawalong. Jawnura, can a Ching Nura, Mungating Chitwa, Kachum and the Amna, the Bachong Yamna, about Parai, Jona, Nerga ye, a Queruni Talfakir. Nerga ye, Queruni Bull Mill, Nerga ye, Queruni ni Paul Nang. Are which Jaka con Normo. A woman Jim you call the Chare dan. Mumui con called Barga, Jacamui Corodan Barga. Allow a chum a Cherry Millaran, called the Jew and a called gun Jinchi Dwella along coaching a child and Go Jinchi Dwella coaching a child and a run can Noir, a buck betray. You could do that go Checha Lanor. Go you could do that Checha Lanor, Bilur I come to the Jakamal Niamna. Be Wurmichari Gaiku, by young Nonga Kub, go Janichu call the Chalanor, Jack. Be Wurmichari Bim, can a Wurmichari pull young by young Jacoan and agent, but thrive unity state in the expense of the local people. Ko a canichu could catch a lanor at Ber. Daquil's point the charcock a young. Me could remember Capers take you. I think Charagapai Kapai, Michi Pai Baroka, Pai Badak, the exact date. Around that time, don't take a Facebook. Don't they remember nature Ben Kayacha, Chayavijo, Daquil, Charcock, yo, Kachamuga Torbiel Daro, be in Daro. That time, Mukuya remember, Regaiko Payaquanya Laga, when I think take only 2 months. Kajube, Bull Mill Chequa, Camre Gaiko, Torbiel Daro TV, and you Regaiko, you a Kinik and you a hand over. To run Dakwith Kajube. Chuala dear Rayamo, here Kai. Try ye lend your boy one and I take a yo to tot, can I quite a tot about noon Dakwith. Here Kai. After a few days, in less than 1 week, here mobilization and an ayala Dakwith Kowro Chiane. Okay? So, Chajoy or Dakwith from that time on, Chako Kume Salfakir. Chamoy 2 V8. La Torbiel Daro, Kula V8 Land Cruisers. Rametoki in Canada Gaiko. Therefore, Mateka and the Manamakelu, tell a interest Nuera, tell a interest Locker, Raid and Aquas. Ramora I go quick goker, I don't believe we would Aquas you go anyway. I believe he was just a smart guy and go order him. Gerard, you quit Manu one, Gerard no, Gerard Jacob, I'm no walk. That's it. You got it all. Now, go to Ubaga Nuera, Kiaga Locker, Becca confused, Igenite Menene, tell him Menene. When Bacola in general, especially Kakon Law, and do log, and good log. Mubokon Kuon in a community, allow been our audience face directly. I will not shy away from mentioning things. Reo me metwo in a Kajubeke 2013, Chane the one Tilalo. Ramkel Milli had a low German, Michele Wale, a partner young lam. A Gadan, dia dan ka ko dia loka na ka ya on Sunday morning ka jube that faithful Sunday morning me na ka Nuer door to door jene na ka je that is among many ga loka man loka nye loka do loka ti cha warping ka jube ke 2013 so jillo amo wala mete yil kam dob no mo mu kuje mo mu tare ke me den abijo e me tare ko mo ayo ku yiye e jillo am te ka jillo am bi ni ka jillo amo mu ku me tare ko mo e Nueri ki low in particular mu ku me tare ko mo low bi ni ka ti ni ka at that time me na ka low kana Nueri ka jube ti ni ka me miel ka low ka ring ne ni kien ti liu ti ni ka me miel ka ga Nueri ka ring ne ni kien ti liu ti ni ka bina kula bi be ti ki uru me tare mo ayo ku yi lo de what who are you where were you at the time a bit on the fact ko jin cha mo ke 2000 US dollar gar jin chang chi ku yon Nuer community ka mi che ida ke bol chang chi ku yon Nuer community ka international gar kon de ne ga to kon la ne yo to gar la ne yo to kon ga Nuer Nuer ka Australia Nuer ka UK ki Europe in general Nuer ka America mani Canada gar chi ga de nyan a kwa wuni pan chi ga de nyan 2000 ti kam ga ji mi che chop ko wo ji ni kwa ka ni ji ga yo we wut janga mi cha la sal fakir ala wo bi kulo wo rai chere ga ur kam dom ni iem tare ke ayo ku yi lode sometime near General Marial Chayabel kweden di nan te men riet kon la riet kweden to use ka his speeches Chayabel gar ko kon situation le ko rodantin a situation mi belong with that ko charwa che nyan la ri to go che ka nyan ko when you try to think mi chu we chari go how for example chereka gatolche me fa ye defect wana me je ka nyiro ki ka lankin kwela wora jo na o ne jo la ra je wo ni wo kon cha ko mai ku ya kan la o yo ne ma ji idui ne ji jin tel fakir it was mistake it was a mistake la o jen it was a mistake e wo ko Nueri chane nyen ke tel fakir ke ku me chi nya da mistake ko kon ko chane ro dan defend la wo ka kwai ti yag te chi dos ko chana ro dan defend gare a ga Nuer jene dwer ko chana ma ji chane ko ko ro dan la defend a wa dwer jen deri language de kula jeni tu wo ene ro deri ka kula educate deri language de jeni ni ga na ma I'm struggling with words ke ne di cheto jin ti dor la o ti kel ke spele mayo ke good 13 years ke good 13 years kuyi metere kuyi lot commentaire for good 13 years ala wo jin core division ki jin core area ka mi chara ka low ka de ayo Where is it?
It's there.
Hold on, guys.
Put a charger on.
Right, got it. Yeah, I gave him the charger. So, Michi, I will go in and tell me, Jen, Chiraya belong. I think, one year quiz, Jerika Gerald Gargalwa. Ko Michi Wegu year, or Jinny did it a care, I okay 13 good years. Allow which I deploy numerous occasions, she called one chicater. Cubby would young of Michi Alison Fakir with you. A go chaco near go chaco kalani, Cubby Nagaji, Malay, you were sorry. It was a bad decision. That's, yeah, it's beyond word. Tell away, me did a machine or did you convince? Tell away, my bedil question. So the same thing could that quiz. That quiz me be na be jo wale jo dole che my care. Che my care and the album. Okay? Ko disunity ko create a self-fakir gur kene nonga jakon. Biran benen be roi chok rai dan che nyungu ko kon tilar ko nu kon na ko kon lan nuare. Biran be benen ga jo ga gwang you see me na ko kon lan nuare. Tell her I'm a no, Changi, Milacha, a Jindul Gagwang by no two. Oh, a Jin Mora, oh, Jindul Jinda, oh, a Jindul Akobo, a Jindul Nural, Chaka Theater. La Thiganu Male, a Nuer, a Jiramaran. Your identity, a Jenny. Again, a con. So that quill point there. Go jeba large, a woman lade, Charlo. Jen Kennedy guy, Charmillet Kenne, Charlo. Charlo Ray Loca, Charlo Ray Nuari. Kacha loka ayo. Jinmu kuyiris on a targa kore ayo. Kuyiris on an ga nuara targa korga 13 years. I don't think you worth living. Me jin ga nuara ka kuyiris on a targa corner in the core for the last 13 years. A dwermedi long ago jinity to take a kuyir. So that quiz, a mistake me teacher lot. A word jin point in that quiz, for example. Why a chalat in a pai baro pai badak. May charge come, may chiran which ye jaka doctor, a guy cook jube. Chathor be a laravaki, Nick in hand to Rameda and Echija. May she. Me chi chop me chi kini chi chop kaji mane kwate to te ya no ji ko ro churi yang churi na me chi yang ye na straight away churi wala ro ne ne ra kwori tul fakir ne ra kwori bol mel ne ra kwori kol manyang ne di kwa nuore le na kol manyang e tu na nuore ni ke 1990s up to now churi won ne reje from that time up to now, Ramu Gurji, de Lara Queen. And can Torbiel Laro de Akamji Chico Dagachi and Dagia? Of course, no. Kachika Dagachi my kia dear? No. Kachika Dagachi and Bordia? No. Chika Dagachi Jurudia? No. Come on, you de Akamji? Chika Dagana? No. What give you the audacity? And woman judge you did take a lodge large, even in law tea, take a large bangling. They limit. Come could you call Carne, but you call Carne, Alcohol Torbiella already. So could you keep cold locker? Coach law, she could betray. She knew a betray. And there are more than our gel core, there are Domia Gadu, a Garinimor, for example, me Garinimor, Muquinga, which you wouldn't want a week. Cake a one the con the way Yatana. Happy I want to go in it, Joy and Chia my care, a dig in yin, a gaba, lucky a dig in yin, more. You should be ashamed of yourself. And a man, I can divide a rule, Mukwala, Gur, Mukwala community or be a daro, Kojin, Chiro Bill a link a cheer more. Okay? Chiro Bill a link a low, Chiro Bill a link a Nuer, and then be valued when you are useless. More valued where you are useless. That's it. You are done and that's it. Theater Majinda quiz, you are done. You are done. I'm lose you made and don't take a go Mijal Gajiki, a call Mijal Gaji. It's done. It's done. Kagwami Abe without you. A pala Viet near 1,000 over Kamji can you come yourself a Kirchaba Kamiko, a genin what they do best. Men Kunela let ye yenu a Rakachi go to be a link. A go come yourself a kir. Can a yard and planet take care? Okay? Planet take care. A wo gen a caninori down a kamnikian. Moinaka disunity ko banaka rule ko nuari, can the only community teach yam dan, to ganke mungur kone banala, let Kajinu Sudan. So Jirama mo, Jinuara mo, Jingalo, no more, Mijat Fakir ko, Janedere achieve a goal more. My Jin point you are against the will of the Nuer people. Ko the ideology and the agenda is very clear. Gorko South Sudan Jan Barul ke Jengism. System Gorga Balatka South Sudan a system who favorite young, a will be young bana rule for life. A Jin be a beggar. A young below Chanaka Sudan, Laga Nuera, you will be mentally incapacitated. You are going to be disoriented mentally. A young village, which are that jelly dark with me young. Jelly dark with me you. Michang called me jelly, which are a Sudan, a chunk called me you mentally. So, Jin Mich live mentally. You can still eat, you can still walk around, you can still laugh, you can still talk to people, but you destroy mentally. You are done and dusted mentally. Once you are done and dusted mentally, you become useless. But I'm at a stage of being destroyed mentally. I'm at a stage of being done and dusted mentally. We decision it Jin point to Jin Gan no more Chima Dakwil Koroade. Look at the decision that you had already made. Can look at the decisions that are facing you currently. For example, cha Nuer cha genocide, cha jaka chamka murdering nas, yet you still want to support Salva Kiir in doing that. Again, Nuer ka POC for nearly 13, 14 years. Ka South Sudan, the entire South Sudan. Ka Unamis ka Upper Nile. Unamis ka Unity State. Unamis Bor. Unamis ka Juba. Yet you still believe. Ewoyen kume me kume da. Jin James was my Jin Garko Nyang. Jin Lurai Kong. Jin Gaiko. Name them. You still believe kume me kume da. Ga Nuer ka POC. Ga Nuer ka refugees camp in Uganda, Kenya, Sudan, Liwe Yargaraj everywhere, Ethiopia. Ga Nuer ka bomb cha yo de ke leo cha ka tim ke 13 years. Naka ga Nuer, you still believe you are part of that regime. In regime mo take agenda for you Jin ga Nuer no. You still believe regime take an agenda for you. You don't deserve to live. If you still believe regime self-care take an agenda for you, Jinga no more. Could you do it along with you? Will be take care of time. Could you do it along with you? Could be take at our time. When they go to Niger talk quick and the Jacob will be live right before our eyes. Nay, the Nanga talk and I go in Nuera, quick and the Jacob will live at our time. Jin point to Jiramame, Muku Nuera, the car can no Nuera care, one tear, cool too, by Bakajilemu. Bakajukul. Kula wanyo jien kula wanyo ni chango do kula taka ayo mkwala nake el ka civilian de la ga Nuer kuna ile wanyo yet useless you. He bang no tang he got nothing because kune ne kon support. Useless you chamini yang talfakir ka ju. And you have the balls to come and accuse us. Say, I owe, let him jail, I owe this, I owe that. Kondi alloy go kum self-fakir. Shame on you. Any can Nuer mungut. Can a longer liang no one and a ear Nuer me naka ke le muka jube. Gan Nuer mukenja long liang ago, can Gan Nuer muter and we tell a cork 2013. Come mumurka kora walle, and mumurka kora walle. Any Gan Nuer mukenja long liang and ogare. Me take a list mila, garga nothing, guard a talk and chanaga there include Kalisa. Mita kon ke list mu garga chu nothing, nay to chaga they include Kalis do. Ko Jin McKinney Jonen now, I don't know beyond any. Kora Michi betray already, Mijal Kel Self-Fakir Kanakaji, Yorka ye Gaska Nathan, Yorka ye Gaska Wulang, Yorka ye Gazra Yakoba, Yorka ye Gaska Pieri, Yorka ye Gaska Pangak, Yorka ye Gaska Unity State. Kajan Jala Kel Self-Fakir. Kajini Jinidari support my point, but that you deserve to die. Kojan no Jikel Self-Fakir. Kabila, when you're away, who you support at Amamo, my Jin pointed out you don't deserve to live. Then you make $1 change where cool long one. Where you now one in it? No, I can't makan it. No, I can't makan it. No, I can't makan it. Micha can't makan no one by your bogarina. Useless him. Kaganura, Katek Ganur, you can support. Jin Poinu Kenya useless one. Change ring ria ka hai ko ke kum lwal I we ka jube we ka ko we ko we ta ka mal we ko we ta ka mal ko no ni tal fakir kare kare yul kare jiba we ko we ta ka mal ko na la ti we ko je we nen ka ko ko je ni me ta ra ko mi te ga gwa mi peaceful re Nuer dera ko kai ba ba no re ga ko kai mo bane ka we ko we ta ka mal ta we kai we ko je ndam ko je ki da ni na cái re ga ko ni jen ga le jen ko ba we ne aspiala mo ye we let we ta ka kur we ta ka kur ga le jen ko be la chen Chuero đó cũng là pel we go we ko we ta ka mal ku ngai je jan la ko ne we let re ji ba de we let we ta ka mal we let we ta ka kur jen je ka je we let we ta ka kur che jen yan ne no so ka ne ka lo de kon de wa chu kin tul ka ko it is celebration mala ko he we ko we ta ka mal tama ni go ne ga telephone ga ne de kon cha long je Uneria me ramabaje wu kuro me chi kore ma cha ko mi kore ma cha tell me de na ter wang ba tu tell me de ga na ter de ga wang ke gas mi kore ma cha mi kore ma cha tell me de dul wang ga fan ga de ga buke je ko jina thiro du kuma fonde nga kuma ma ke cha okay kan mu kwa civilians tin kula voters ne de kula kam kor mu kwa kala bo now you want us to think wona ne e kuma mo te ga char ga ji kuma mu da dwal wal darun kuma mu na ka dwal gora ga te na ga ni te ka pieri na ga dwal gora kuma mu pen ga exams kuma mi kuma kun ko gare kuma mu ga do kun ko kwet kuma mi juji wo cham ring randu and you want to come here telling me it okay kuma mi cha kuma so Sudan a bire guy wo chang e jo na ne